Politics have changed. Let's talk about it today on the Half a Day Show. This week on the Half a Day Show, I'm joined by my boy, Camo to Connect.
Yes, sir.
The host of the
Exzentric Podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him talk.
Another vibe.
Yeah, you know, had to bring my mans up here. We gotta talk about the politics have changed today. So let's get right into that.
Facts.
So I know y'all seen a bunch of the time how there's like this ongoing like debate regarding like police defunding, police abolition, police reform.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that today, as well as some other things, and like how do you go about accomplishing those goals and whether or not those are realistic.
Bruh.
So for me, I'm big abolish everything.
Abolish everything?
Abolish everything. Get rid of it all, honestly. Because like
Rebuild it from the ground up?
Rebuild it from the ground up. Because if you really look at like the history behind all of these like institutions that we have in America,
yeah,
they was never meant to serve the people.
No. Not black people.
Not black people. They was meant to. They erected them Johns. Pause. They they stood them Johns up to as it means like a social control.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like police, y'all know that they came from slave patrols. Mm-hmm. Like the prison system, new slavery. Like all these things.
And it's crazy. My fault, not to cut you off, but it's like it's crazy. We just now learning about all this stuff. Like, you know, we just knew growing up. Like, you know, we just seeing the police. Like, you know, we like, oh, you know, they just supposed to protect and serve. But even like, you know, when we like nobody knows the history of the police. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not until recently. Like, you know, I learned this off Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
Like that's something that the people should know. But it's like the fact that that's been kept from us and all this stuff is crazy. That like we finally waking up to it, and I think that's why a big reason why like, you know, people are coming with the whole abolition or like, you know, because people are realizing the origins of it and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. So where do you stand in this this debate regarding? Let's start with the police.
Yeah, I think because I know that the police and prison abolition movement they're kind of one and the same, but me personally, I feel like you can reform the police more than you can reform like the prison system, because people know the origins of the prison system with like slavery. I mean, it abolished slavery unless like you committed a crime, and now we're seeing that it's mainly black people and people of color that are in the prison system. But you know, I think with the police, I don't even think it's necessarily like we have to abolish it, but I think we have to reimagine what it means, like what policing means to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have these officers who are in areas that they don't know nothing about. You know, they literally just. They come, especially like white officers, they're coming into black areas and stuff, trying to police and they're policing them harshly. It's like we're realizing that they got these orders from like their higher ups. Like they're realizing they're like, okay, yeah, we have to use more force with these people of color and everything because, you know, they're more aggressive than the white people and stuff. So I think it's like I feel like with better policing tactics, like I had said this on Twitter the other day, I think like police officers need to be able to get a security clearance because it's like you know, a lot of all the other government agencies, you know, the FBI, CIA, all that, you have to get a clearance. I mean, even to work for like the Department of the Interior, like just to work for Park Services or something, you got to get some type of clearance. But the one government agency where they're interacting with people the most, you know, there's nothing that they can have a high school degree and go out and be policing the streets in areas that they don't know nothing about. So I mean, I think it's like, yeah, we can say we want to abolish it, but I mean, the likelihood of like some districts have actually been you know, doing they've been abolishing it, but I don't know if the whole national police system, but I think a lot of changes need to be made, and we have to reimagine what it means to be a police.
Now you say with that reimagined piece, that's why I say like the conception of like abolition of police and like prisons and all that stuff.
Yeah. When
you get rid of a system entirely, you got to replace it with something new.
Yeah.
So when I say abolish police, get rid of them,
mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the police that we know right now
do
not need to exist in my view. We need to come up with something better that's more effective at doing what they do. All the duties that a regular cop can do can be split up into many different agencies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, like, you ever heard of, like, emergency management?
I've heard of it, but I mean, I'm not too familiar with it.
So
you talking about like FEMA and stuff?
Yeah, FEMA.
Oh yeah, I know.
So
FEMA.
it's like, so FEMA right there, emergency management right there. They work together or whatever. Like, emergency management is like the local and like state level. FEMA is federal, right? So, like, a lot of the stuff, like, I'm trying to think.
A lot of people think, like, even like with FEMA and stuff, it's like that's because you know, even in like disasters and stuff, like, you know, they always bring in FEMA to enact like martial law and stuff like that. And I think that's another reason why a lot of people want the police to have less, less around. You know, like that's why people want to defund it. And, you know, move people to different districts and stuff.
Delegate their duties to other organizations.
Exactly.
So like with like the Office of Emergency Management, they control a lot of resources at the state and local level. Yeah. Like whenever there's a power outage, they're on that joint. They can go and deploy like PSE&G or something like that. They can, if there's like a flood or something, they can go and they can even call out the National Guard. Like they have that type of power.
And they bring in the National Guard, especially they've been doing that with these protests and stuff too.
Yeah. So like, what my thing is, you could take some of the police, like their duties, and you can split it up into like many new organizations. Like, for example, say you got like a domestic violence like task force or something like that. You got like the people that just give traffic tickets and like parking tickets, which is stupid to me, honestly. But like, you could just separate that. The people that giving like parking tickets and like traffic tickets, they don't need to carry a gun. Yeah, like,
no reason.
There's no reason for them to even have a gun.
No.
Like, I mean, if they're chasing after somebody, like a violent like getaway or something like that, that could be a different like police task force. You know what I'm saying? So like when I say abolish police, that means get rid of what we have now and replace it with something entirely different.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's like even with Rashard Brooks and everything, it's like the officer who killed him. It's like they're really in so deep that like even with all this stuff going on, like they're still committing these acts of violence against black people. And like I don't know if you saw Elijah McClain.
Yeah,
that was man. That's so sad. Like, you know what I'm saying. And still like Breonna Taylor, all this, and it's like, how you going? They haven't even done nothing with the officers who killed Breonna Taylor. It's like, how do you fix a system that don't care that much? You know what I'm saying? And you allowing all this stuff to go on, and you're not holding the officers accountable. Like you firing them and stuff, but it's like, no, they need to face consequences for what they're doing. It's not like they need to be held to a different standard than what they are now. Especially like you was talking about like qualified immunity.
I was about to say that. Plug that joint in. Go watch that video.
Facts. Facts, like qualified immunity and everything. It's like they know that they above the law, and even just the role of the police unions and stuff. Like they have a lot of like overarching capabilities that like holds them in a higher standard than what they should be, and they need to be held accountable for the crimes that they do. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be out here killing people and not face the consequences for it.
For real.
Yes, sir.
People that are for defunding the police.
Yeah.
I probably think that's the most ineffective piece of this whole movement.
Bro,
if you really think about it at like surface level, you want the police as an institution to change, right?
Yeah.
But if they got no money to retrain themselves, if they got no money to like actually make themselves better and like give us these because like right now all it stands for, like if you look at police, they're built literally like a militia, like a military organization.
Yeah.
All of their funding goes into weapons and
to pull it out against protesters.
Like all that stuff. And to pull it out against the wrong people. Like they're not using it against criminals. Yeah. They're using it against regular civilians that are exercising their constitutional rights. Like you defund, I get that part. Like, yeah, absolutely. They should not have a military budget. Like if you defund them, I feel like that would make them even more ineffective at what they're doing in the first place, even though they're not doing much. I can, like the other part that goes along with defunding, like moving that money somewhere else, I'm with that 100%. Like split their budget in half, but don't make it zero. You know what I'm saying? If they don't have no money, they can't even.
And put it into the proper things.
Yeah.
Like, housing. People, housing, mental health, community centers, the education system. It's like, I saw some today on Google and stuff, like New York got like the NYPD has a $6 billion budget. They would be like the 30th 30th ranked military in the world in terms of spending, like, and that's in our country. You know what I'm saying? They have a bigger military budget. I mean, they have a bigger budget than a lot of countries around the world and stuff. It's like, is that really necessary? You know, to protect against your own citizens. You know, like, are you really using that to keep the peace? Are you using that effectively?
So I'm thinking there might be some connection with these massive like police department budgets and the defense budget in general.
Yeah.
Because like we beat the next 15 countries out by well over a few $trillion in our defense budget. I think some of that money funnels into the police department.
Definitely.
And we would probably, if somebody did some research on it, you could probably see post 9/11 the increase in police spending related to as a defense organism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like partially probably why they got all this military like technology and equipment is probably just in case like a domestic threat were to break out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But like it still goes back to your point. Why are they using that on civilians?
Yeah. Why are you pulling that out at
why
protests?
do regular cops need shotguns and ARs?
Yeah.
Who are you trying to stop?
Bro, when I was out at the Atlanta protest, bro, they had tanks out there, bro.
Tanks?
Bro, yes, bro. The National Guard was there with two big tanks, bro. Like, you know, and it was like we literally sitting there like, yo, is this really here? And then like they was out there throwing flashbangs, they was throwing tear gas, they was throwing all that stuff. Like,
nah, that's mad.
They had riot shields, like they suited up, like they look like. I'm like, bro, what do y'all have planned? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you looking like this out here?
Nah, it's actually pretty wild that like these states actually deployed the army.
Yeah.
Against civilians. The last time we did that was the Civil War.
Bro, exactly,
You know
bro. That's why
this is not that.
Yeah, a lot of and that's the thing, like, especially even like when you talk about like conservatives and stuff, their things like they don't believe in like an overarching government and stuff, but like when you got the government out here, like literally the police is literally rolling through people's neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying? Like where are y'all at? You know what I'm saying? Like this is the definition of overarching government, like, you know what I'm saying?
They only read the right of the people to bear arms, but they never finish the sentence.
Yeah.
To go up against
exactly. That's what they fearing, but you don't hear them, they don't have no issue with it when it's people protesting Black Lives Matter and stuff, you know, they're against it.
You don't want to remove white people from their position of power, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they had the same energy they had when they was protesting the mask and all that stuff and like going back outside, there would never be a black life. If they went as hard for us as they went for the mask like mandate, there would never be a black life lost again.
But exactly. But they don't care. They don't care about that. They mad because the government is trying to make them wear masks, and you think that's an overarching government, but the police out here with military weapons being used against civilians, you're like, oh yeah, that's what they need. You know, the protesters are out here violent and stuff. Like, you know, it doesn't make sense in the bigger scheme of things, bro.
None at all. So like with the politics of change, you can apply that to any aspect of life, really. And like when you want to see like a social change happen, there are some things that actually need to occur. For me, the way you make any impact in like some social movement, you gotta attack the money.
Yeah.
That's the only place.
That's why people were saying the looting and stuff, like, you know, like get them where it hurt.
And that's right here in terms of like the grand scheme of America's money.
Exactly.
Like we in debt, but that bag's still deep.
Yeah.
But like the only way you're gonna make these politicians hear you or like actually make something that's for the people, you gotta go after their pockets. Like you seen that back in the first civil rights like movement.
Yep.
They boycotted the bus, public transportation for 14 months, 380 some days. Like our generation, we need to do something on that caliber. So why not boycott the NBA season, something like that, something of that caliber? Like we tried that actually back, like when Kaepernick first got blackballed. Yeah, people stopped watching the NFL. It wasn't very effective, but like if, like as a whole, if black people said we're going to stop watching like entertainment, you know how much money the NFL and the NBA will lose off of that alone?
But it's just, I think one of the biggest things is just trying to organize that, you know what I'm saying? And also it's just like people
on the same page. Yeah. Abolish them. We ain't talking about reform. Do you think any of these things can actually be reworked as they are currently?
I think the police has a chance if, I mean, but honestly, nah. Honestly, because I'm saying like reimagine, but it's like you had said earlier, it's like, we got to build it from the ground up, and like that's not reform, that's that's reimagining. So I think you got to start from the bottom and just rework it. I mean, I think just before we abolish it, we have to have a plan in place as to what's gonna follow. That's the main thing. You can't just go and abolish the police and then
It's definitely wild. But and then going back to when we was talking about the money piece earlier, as much as America is about money, you would think with 2 million people in jail, that's not a cheap price tag. I think a few years ago I saw it was for a year in prison. I could probably look that John up. Let me see. What it costs to keep one prisoner in jail.
Yeah. I know it was some crazy
$35,000 plus per prisoner. So if you got 2 million people in jail, I ain't even about to do that number.
Yeah,
that's well over.
And then it's they spending $35,000 on one person. This person could be a member who's out of society. I mean, out in society, contributing to the economy. 30 and probably more than $35,000, depending on what they do. You never know, but you choosing to spend this money instead on keeping him in prison, or keeping her and him in prison. Because even black women and stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy. Just right here in Virginia alone, it's $22,000 per inmate, and there's 38,000 people in Virginia jail. Let's do some quick math. That's OD.
Yeah.
Let's just round up 40 and 20. 800 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Virginia spends per year $800 million on their prisons. Just the upkeep of keeping prisoners in jail.
Yeah.
That's not including.
Just say you cut 1% of that. That's what, $800,000 or something, $80,000. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not good at that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like just kind of like a small significant part, like 1% of that. When say you cut that by 20% by having these prisoners be out. Letting some of these people be out trying to be productive members of society. You know what I'm saying?
For $800 million, every public university could send all of their students to school for free in Virginia.
Yeah.
Probably. Something like that. Housing. All the homeless people in Virginia could have somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Food stamps. Something like that. But we want to send it on keeping people in jail. That's the Half a Day Show.
Appreciate my boy for getting me on. Check out the Exzentric Podcast also.
Follow him on IG at
Camo to Connect.
And that's that. As always, it's the Half a Day Show, bringing you education, entertainment, everything in between.
Yes, sir.
See y'all next week.